Hi there. So we just have like a few last steps to finish off our pieces before we actually fire them. One of the things I think is really helpful is creating a base. I have kind of taken the liberty here for this piece because it doesn't like sit on like legs or anything like that. I made a hoof to match my Pyrenean ibex. And the clay is a little wet, so it's stuck a little, but it's basically just, it kind of looks like a lily pad. This isn't quite finished yet, but this is just the general idea, just to show you it can be something really basic. And I think it's cool if you could incorporate something, you know, to do with the animal or the animal's environment, just so it can like actually sit really well. Otherwise, it might want to rock back and forth, depending on what kind of animal you have, especially if it's really round on the bottom. So that's something I would, do when I'm getting really close to finishing. And then one of the two more steps before you actually do finish. So this is an animal that has really large horns. So something like this is going to be very, very, very fragile in the greenware state. So before it has actually been fired. So something like this, I would attach at the very, very end. It's like one of the last things I would actually do is attach this horn, and it probably goes something like this when I do attach it. Okay, so you can see how large this is. If you have any horns or anything like this, if you're doing an elephant with like tusks or an antelope or a deer or elk or anything, you can make these solid and then kind of like hollow them out. So this is just solid clay, and then what I'll do is before I actually attach it, I'll hollow out basically like just like the first maybe like 4 or 5 inches here where it's like kind of thick, just so that it gets down to about like 1/2 inch thick area. And then when it gets like a little thicker here, I can go ahead and leave that solid. And I want to make sure that I don't leave a kiln bomb essentially. I want to make sure that the air can escape from that cavity. So I'll either poke holes into the piece, or I can take my needle tool and just poke some gentle, small little holes into those areas. I just need a couple little holes, and the air will be able to escape, and the moisture will be able to escape, so it doesn't blow up in the kiln, which is really important. So that goes on pretty much last. And then one more thing, actually 2 more things. Don't forget about the cup form up here. I think it's great if you could have like the entire texture of your animal's fur or skin or scales or whatever, go all the way up to the edge of the cup. That's definitely a possibility. But I think if you want to like have like kind of like a demarcated like section where you can see one area is definitely the animal, the other section is clearly like a cup form. You can sculpt or carve in like parts of like the animal's environment or their habitat. It's a really nice way of kind of incorporating that and changing it a little bit. And then lastly, at the very opening of this that we started off with, this is really thick right here, and we want to actually carve this down so that's more like a cup. So what I have here is my fettling knife, and I'm going to carve this where I'm basically taking off at a 45-degree angle, and I won't do the whole thing, I'll just do a portion of it just to show you guys, and then I'll finish the whole thing. I do one cut to take off like the big corner, and then I can carve and take down those edges a little bit more. So I'm just going to do this one little section right here of the cup just to kind of show you what I'm talking about. And hopefully you can get a sense of how clean and nice it'll look. Because these are pretty thick, right? So if you can just kind of trim that down, you can kind of see that, and really clean up that edge, so it's more like a cup form. You have a really nice Rhyton. So yeah, make sure you make something that, a little stand is really helpful. If you're worried about the clay sticking to it, you can just put like a little piece of like newspaper or just like notebook paper in between, just to keep them from sticking to one another for now, and then they won't stick to each other in the kiln. attaching anything that comes away from the surface, like horns, ears, things like that. That's what you want to do absolutely last, and make sure you obviously clean up the edge of the rim or the lip of the cup. Okay? All right, thanks guys. Good luck.